the door code that said my name, a clickable mystery you'll want to hear. The keypad blinked at me like a small, polite accusation. I had been rinsing coffee from a mug, and the light from the stove hit the screen so the digits looked like constellations. When I leaned closer, the message cycled once and for a breath spelled my name in capital letters. For Owen. Under it, the entry log showed a time I hadn't been, 23:12, and beneath that, someone had typed a four-digit code in a line the system wasn't meant to store, 2817. Beside the digits, like a signature that refused to be modest, a single initial, T. I tune strings for a living, guitars, the odd cello, anything with a bridge that needs a less violent argument. My work smells of oil and lemon, of metal that learns to be patient. Theo, the man I share a bed with, designs exhibitions and frames other people's taste into sentences. We've been together 5 years, which is long enough to know which plates we pretend to like and which stories we tell about how we met. We keep 2 glasses by the sink and pour before we start the sentence that changes a night. Theo had said the gala ran late. He'd come home with the cedar of hotel lobbies clinging to his collar and the distracted kindness of men who think their own schedules are explanations. He kissed the back of my neck with the accuracy of someone who likes maps, and then went to the bathroom to run water like a man trying to wash off an hour he intended to keep. I watched him move and cataloged details I didn't want to need later. The keypad log was a small thing that announced itself with the confidence of an elevator arriving on time. The code, if it meant anything, meant someone had let a stranger in with a number and a name. Keypads are honest in the way hinges aren't. They keep lists. The initials matched a curator I'd seen at openings, tall, neat cheekbones, the kind of man donors mistake for art because he wears intention well. Tobias. I could feel a half sentence in my mouth about waiting for proof. I could also feel the kind of impatience that comes from people who repair things for a living. I walked the 2 blocks to the gallery because waiting for the morning lets furniture solve fewer problems than you think. The lobby on the side street was dark and smelled like the night they'd let the lights run low. The back door was supposed to be locked at 9. The keypad blinked like it enjoyed the irony. The number 2817 had left a warm print inside my head even before I typed it. The latch clicked, and a man I knew in the outlines of photographs opened the door with a hand that didn't tremble. Tobias had a jacket draped over one shoulder, a shirt unbuttoned one careless notch beyond polite. He smelled like cedar and the last half hour of a room that had been flattering. He did not look surprised to see me. He'd likely memorized the face of the person who would find out eventually. He stepped back and let the door shut with the kind of dignity a hinge learns when it knows it might be used for something important. "You came," he said, like relief that didn't want to parade itself. "You put my name on the entry log," I said, because I prefer facts to metaphors. Some people hire actors for drama. Some people leave receipts. He gave a smile that was almost the right size for the situation. 2 cups sat on a metal table, condensation mapping the air like tiny maps. A coat that I recognized by the frayed cuff, Theo's, hung on the back of a chair. The room tasted like citrus cleaner and the residue of other people's conversations. "I invited you because I don't think secrets age well when we let them live in wardrobes," Tobias said. "He thinks he's meeting me to finish it politely. I thought you should have the room first." "How long?" I asked. "Practice makes you ask the right blunt thing." 8 months, he said. He said it like a man who'd practiced not telling a better story. "It started with rain and an elevator and a night when the lighting made him tilt his head in a way donations like. I tried to end it twice. He sent me a photo of your breakfast once, captioned like a joke that wasn't funny. I hung on a paragraph because I liked its cadence. I'm tired of liking things that are easy to explain. He moved closer without touching me. The air between us decided it liked being warm. He stopped with an inch between his fingers and my wrist, the inch that has its own jurisdiction in most rooms now, the one where bodies decide without permission. He didn't close it. That restraint, unreasonable as it felt, was more erotic than anything that kissed skin without asking. The back door unlatched and Theo stepped in with the face he keeps for donors who need to feel correct. Cedar drifted after him like a scent that insists you owe it the truth. He saw me. He saw Tobias. He saw the jacket and the cups and the small country of air that had insisted on being political. "Okay," he said. His voice didn't try to be a speech. That minimalism did more than I expected. "You could have kept the keypad log out of our building," I said, laying the accusation like a map. "You chose not to." "I chose incompetence," he said. He didn't try on any other noun. "I cheated. I told myself it was weather and that home is a thing that survives rain. I told myself you were elastic in a way that meant I could be careless. I told myself beginnings were better than endings and that both could live without eviction. I don't want to be a man who thinks in paragraphs anymore." Tobias had drifted to the work table and stood with his hands in his pockets the way decent men do when other men need air. He watched my mouth like someone who reads light for a living. He raised his hand, only to lower it again, as if the pause were a demonstration of integrity. "I can go," he said finally. "If this is theater, I don't want to be the actor. If it's truth, I want you to have the first line." "Not yet," I said. I surprised myself by wanting us to be competent, not spectacular. "Let's be adults for 5 minutes. No monologues, no theatrical exits. Tell the truth, end what needs ending, and let the rest be work." Theo looked as if the words cost him because they did. He didn't reach. His hands stayed where his body learned to keep them, not controlling, not absent. "Tell me what you need me to do," he asked. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. You will tell me twice next week what this was, once with the curator voice that polishes edges, once with small words that don't ask the day to justify itself. I will decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." He nodded. The nod had the humility of someone trying to be a better hinge. Tobias exhaled and stepped forward just enough that the tiny hairs on my arm reconsidered their loyalty. He put his mouth near my ear without touching me and said, "Thank you for not making me into a lesson." The sentence was honest enough to make me a little furious that it felt like rescue. He left without connecting the door to punctuation. That was perhaps his greatest courtesy. He didn't close it like a slam. He closed it like a plan being put away. We didn't kiss. We'd learned that rehearsed affection is not the same as real repair. Instead, we walked home with hands deliberately in our pockets, the city allowing a breeze that didn't demand spectacle. At a crosswalk, Theo's hand hovered near my hip when a cyclist cut in badly. His fingers didn't land. That almost touch had the same electricity as a confession and none of the mess of a souvenir. That night he slept on a couch with blankets arranged the way a man arranges his apologies, careful, without flourish. He woke in the morning smelling like nothing, the cologne of someone trying not to be ornamental. He came into the quiet of our kitchen and told me in the small words I'd asked for exactly what he'd been pretending to think was accidental. He said, "I like being two men because one of them didn't have to be tired." He said, "I confused applause for permission." He said simply, "I will stop." I let him. There is no heroism in the letting. There is only calculation and care. He slept on the couch for 6 nights and relearned the distance between our door and our bed. and on the seventh he came to bed with no show of triumph, just a tentative hand and an inexpensive, faithful touch. Tobias texted a week later, "Thank you for not turning it into a performance." I replied, "Try it in rooms that don't cultivate applause." He didn't answer, which was on balance the second kindest thing he'd done. My work didn't become noble. It became honest. I tuned a guitar for a 17-year-old who wanted to make noise into meaning, and we listened to the strings agree. I repaired a lock for an old neighbor and showed him where the screw had been loose for decades. Sometimes the small tools change things because they are practiced. I painted a shop sign open in letters that let the air through. The owner framed it with two ferns. He told me later that renting less perfection had made the day easier to breathe. There is a part most people skip because it sells fewer clicks. I wanted him, Tobias. Sometimes, in the way a man wants a chord he knows will complicate the song. I wanted the air his hand made near my neck and the way his restraint taught me grammar I almost forgot. But wanting is not a command. Desire is only a verb if you let it change your syntax. I didn't take what wasn't mine to narrate. If another code blinks with my name, I'll bring water. I'll sit where exit is obvious and not call it cowardice. If a palm hovers near my throat, I'll let the inch exist and answer with a decision I can carry past morning. I'll keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I put a new set of strings on a guitar and feel them settle into an agreement, when two notes decide to breathe the same air, I'll remember the keypad that spoke my name and the small way we let repair be the most erotic thing in the room.